Today on Toy Habits, we are taking a look at G.I. Joe's all-weather environment vehicle, the A.W.E Striker, and comparing Crankcase to his vintage figure from 1985. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits, and today we are taking a detailed look at the G.I. Joe Retro Collection A.W.E Striker, which includes an unboxing, assembly, sticker placement tutorial, a detailed look at the vehicle parts, and if that's not enough, we are comparing Crankcase to his vintage self from 1985, so let's get right to it. And let's start off like we usually do by looking at the box. And the A.W.E Striker comes in the G.I. Joe Retro Collection vintage style packaging, and this packaging looks nearly identical to the vintage box that came out in 1985. And really the only difference here is they've given Crankcase a beard, whereas in the original vintage packaging, he just had a mustache. And on the side of the box, we have the G.I. Joe tricolored logo and a nice overhead shot of the toy on the side of the box. And on the back of the box, we have some nice shots of the toy itself with some of the details that we'll be checking into. And we also have the useless file card, which really just has one room for one sentence for Crankcase's file card because this is translated into 4 other languages. So what I've done here is just remove the contents from the inside of the box so you can see what's inside, and there is some assembly required. There are 3 bags of parts for the A.W.E Striker, and of course you have the sticker sheets and instruction sheets, as well as you have Crankcase in his little plastic casing there. And once you open up all those bags, you are left with all the parts that you have to assemble. So we have the chassis and body of the vehicle. We have the Crankcase figure and his display stand. We have a really nice sticker sheet, and you can't really pick up the white stickers on camera, but they're really going to pop against the green vehicle. We have the cannon, this lovely hose, which is very reminiscent of the 80s G.I. Joe figures and vehicles. We have the 2 antennas, the roll bar, and the tires. And one thing that I did notice on the bottom of the chassis here on the vehicle, they did put a piece of cardboard, I think, to protect this part that might get broken during shipping. So that just comes easily out, and you can begin either putting your stickers on or assembling the vehicle. Now, given my issues assembling the hiss first and then putting the stickers on, I think I'm going to put the stickers on before I assemble this vehicle, so I will be back in a moment. All right, and I'm back, and these stickers took me a heck of a lot longer than I thought to put on because there are several of them. So I don't usually do this in a review, but I'm actually going to show you where the stickers go on each of these parts because they forgot to tell you where 2 of the stickers go. And even one of the stickers, I'm really confused about where it goes. So let's get this assembled and then we'll show you where the stickers go. Now I sped up time here just to show you how the roll bar is assembled, and there are just 6 ports that this plugs into on the vehicle, and there are 2 tabs that are in the front of the vehicle here, and we are done. And next up we have the antennas, and they just plug into the sides of these ports over here like so, and they are very easy to assemble. And the large cannon slides very easily into the port on the top of the vehicle. And next up, let's put on the tires. And really the only tricky thing about the tires is that since this vehicle does have suspension, the tires are a little bit tricky to put on just because everything is moving around, but they are fairly easy to assemble. They lock in place really nicely. And finally, we have that black hose that plugs into a port on the side of the gun, and it also plugs into that port on the side of the roll bar. And voila, we are done. And now that the A.W.E Striker is assembled, let's give it an old spinaroonie on the Lazy Susan to kick this sticker tutorial off. And assisting me today is Merman's Trident from the Masters of the Universe Classics line to help me point out the stickers. And apologies in advance if I've missed anything, but let's get on with the sticker placement tutorial. And taking a look at the right side of the vehicle, which is the passenger side, we see we have a smaller star here, the G.I. Joe tricolored logo, the sticker that starts with an R, the American flag, and the base sticker that goes on the antenna, as well as the gas sticker that goes on the side right here. And looking at the left side of the vehicle, which is the driver's side, we have the G.I. Joe tricolor logo, the smaller star, the sticker that starts with an R, the American flag, and the base sticker that goes right under the antenna. And zeroing in on the roll bar and the gun, we have this long watch head sticker, and that is one piece, so don't confuse it with the two-piece sticker that goes on the other side. We also have what looks to be just writing that goes along the side of the barrel of the gun. We have a beware sticker, and looking at the right side of the roll bar, we have this two-piece watch head sticker, and it's two pieces because this hose has a little attachment that goes right in the middle there, and we have our recuperator fluid level sticker that goes on the gun like so. And there is one sticker on the top of the gun, and it is this icon looking sticker here. I'm not really sure what it is, but it looks like that. There is also a star on the front of the gun that goes like so, and it has a red tip, so you can easily pick it out, but the red tip goes straight up instead of to the side or down. And finally, looking at the rear of the vehicle, we have the stickers for the brake lights, the toolkit, the latch stickers, the white danger sticker, the medium-sized star. There's also a danger sticker here and one that you can see all the way tucked up under here. And that should take care of the sticker sheet, but you do have an orphan sticker here that, again, is not shown on the instructions. It's a circled number 8 with a spot check on it. So I'm actually going to throw it on the engine because I don't really see any other place for it. So I will be back in a second. And for this spot check sticker, I'm actually going to put it on the engine here because you actually need to spot check your engine. I have a neighbor that lives across the street and she let her car run out of oil. So there you go. Spot check is here. Now Crankcase will never run out of oil again. And now that the A.W.E striker is assembled and it has all its stickers, let's take an up close and personal look at some of the parts. And let's first take a look at the front bumper, and I love the way the headlights are done and the way that the plastic is molded and sculpted in here. It actually looks like real halogen lamps. These are clear headlights and they look fantastic. And while we're looking in the front, you can see that the front has some really cool sway bar action here, and when you turn the wheels you can see all the mechanisms moving here, which look really, really cool. And on the side of the vehicle, you have one foot peg for a Joe to pile on to the A.W.E striker, and you also have some cross-hatching detail here, which you can actually see right through to the bottom floor. And moving around to the rear of the vehicle, you can see some nice diamond plating that they have over the rear tires here, and we can take a closer look at the engine cover, which has a lot of cool stickers on it, and it has a little bit of sculpting detail just to make it look a little more interesting. And what's cool about this engine cover is it does come off, and the easiest way to take it off is just to put your thumb or finger underneath that latch and it pops off. And I've heard others saying that this piece comes off easily, but it's actually really tight on mine. And once you get that off, you can take a look at the engine, and let's take a look at that because it's actually removable. And to take the engine out, you just pick it up and just lift it up here. There is a port at the bottom here that it plugs into, and the engine looks really cool, and it's not the most detailed engine because you really don't see the parts. And I think it's a good sculpt. It's a pretty standard engine, and you can also see the spot check sticker that I put on it just now. And while we're looking at the back of the vehicle, if you flip it around, the A.W.E striker has been given some suspension. So I think it has some really cool features that give it some really nice playability. And the last thing we'll take a look at is the cannon on top. And the cannon swivels. It also moves up and down, and it's a pretty standard cannon. It looks pretty cool. You do see some sculpting detail over here as well as on the overall cannon itself. And taking a look at the other side, because it swivels, you can see some more detail as well as the sticker detail that we have here. And I'm really not sure what this is on the side here, but it looks pretty cool. And now that we've unboxed and assembled and put together the A.W.E striker, we can now take a look at Crankcase. And what we'll be doing is going over his figure body part by body part. So let's first take a look at his set sculpt. He's been given an updated helmet with some really cool strap detail here, and the straps are different on both sides, and it gives the illusion that you can actually take this strap and actually hook it underneath his chin. You do see some riveting detail on the helmet here, and if you turn it back around, you do see some other rivets and some more strap detail in the back. And let's turn the helmet around and remove his helmet, and if you actually notice, the helmet is colored brown inside, which I'm guessing is just paint spray from the brown straps that they put on it here. And once you have his helmet off, you can take a look at his head sculpt, and I do like the way that his hair is sculpted. It looks really natural, and he's given a little layered look, and it looks like he has kind of a fade on the side there. I do love the beard. I never really liked his mustache in the vintage figure, which we'll take a look at in a minute, but he's been given a really serious facial sculpt. I do love the facial features. The eyes are painted well, the nose is very proportionate and looks great, and the ear detail is fantastic as well. And backing up Crankcase, we can get a better look at his shirt, and if we take his bandolier down, you can reveal his shirt a little better, and he comes with some pockets, tan collar, and I think the shirt looks really nice. You can kind of see the folding at the bottom, which makes it look like a real shirt. And now taking a look at his holster, he does have a faux gun here, which you can't take out, and it does have some strap detail, but it's a pretty basic holster that goes from the front all the way around, and it connects to his back there. And taking a closer look at Crankcase's arms, his arms are pretty basic, but you can see some shirt detail here where they've added some little folds just to make it look like realistic clothing, and he does come with a pair of black gloves on his hands. And finally, taking a look at Crankcase's lower body, you can see some folds that mimic real clothing on his crotch, and there's really not a ton of detail on his pants. They're just a plain tan, and you can see some knee armor here and what looks like to be a knife holster. And if you go down to the boots are pretty basic. There's really not a lot going on down there, but you can also see some folds like he actually has his feet in the boot. So overall, I think this is a great figure, and let's next take a look at the comparison to the vintage Crankcase. And before we get too far into the comparison, let's do just a quick visual scan just so you can see how similar these figures are. And they really did a nice job paying homage to the vintage Crankcase. So let's look at each body part in more detail. And let's first take a look at their helmets. Now, the original Crankcase I thought had more of a German looking helmet that you might see in World War II, and the more updated Crankcase from the A.W.E Striker set comes with a more angular helmet, and I do love the cutout in his ear. And I really never liked the lack of cutout that they had on the vintage Crankcase's helmet because, again, it just looks like one of those German helmets from World War II. And zeroing in closer on the head sculpts, you can see that the new Crankcase figure has red hair all around, even on his eyebrows, and the vintage Crankcase has just a mustache, and they're given really different shades of red hair here. So the vintage Crankcase almost looks a little bit more brownish red than the bright red hair for the new Crankcase figure. And zeroing in on their torsos, you can see some similarities and differences here. So really the main similarity is that they've given the new Crankcase an updated version of the holster, which you can actually remove. And it's a piece that gives the figure a lot more depth and dimension versus the painted on and sculpted on holster that the vintage Crankcase has. And you can see some of the details that they actually left off of the new figure. So I do love the belt buckle here that the vintage Crankcase was given. Also the little splashes of color that they have. They have green and reds up here, and they also have what looks like to be either a necklace down here or it's just where the V comes in on his collar. But you can see just some of the little similarities and differences here up close. And what do we see down here? All right, it looks like his belt buckle was hiding from me. So they did give him a belt buckle. It's just a basic gold buckle, and it would have been cool to have that little eagle detail sculpted on there, but it's actually cool that they've added this belt buckle on the new Crankcase figure. And just last part we're going to look at is just moving down to the legs. It looks like they've just updated the holsters that he has on the sides of his legs. And he's got what looks like to be a knife holster over here and just a regular gun holster on the vintage figure. And here we have Crankcase in the driver's seat, and he looks fantastic. He can grip the wheel really nicely, and his whole figure actually sits very nicely in the seat, which I can't say about the pilot of the Fang because it looks like you're trying to stuff him in there, but they did an excellent job with the scale of the vehicle and the figure. And he also has a passenger Duke, and you can kind of recreate that scene that you see on the side of the box here, and I just think this vehicle looks overall fantastic. The A.W.E Striker is one of those sets that immediately sparks nostalgia, from the cool box art, putting the vehicle together, to even putting those pesky little stickers on. The updates to the vehicle and crankcase give the Striker a lot of playability as well. What are your thoughts on the Striker? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe to the channel so you can be alerted to the latest reviews as they drop.